It's all for you. Yeah, yo. There whenever it matters, and even more when you feel like it doesn't. Protect you so you never feel like you wasn't. Know I'm right alongside you. Either that or I'm behind you, but always got you. End of discussion, nothing means more. First one to offer is shoulders for what you reach for. Thought I saw the eyes of the world until I seen yours. And know that I ain't see a better view yet. I'm with whatever, so don't ever you fret. Know that you covered, not a hurdle or a heartbreak. A change what a partake, cause none of them won't ever get comfortable in your walkway. My job is to aware you, fully loaded, prepare you for all of the above that I'm never letting get near you. But still in all, give you every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
Join these 4 famous fathers as we celebrate Black fatherhood.
Sacrifice is something that you offer with love.
And discover what it really takes to be a dad.
Anybody can have a kid, but it takes a real man to be a dad.
They Call Me Dad premieres Tuesday, September 14th, 9/8 Central on OWN. And stream on Discovery.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dad is Not a Noun. My name is Ishmael. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing well. What you just saw was the trailer of They Call Me Dad, Season 3. It's already out. I saw it. It was awesome. I have my special co-host with me today, Derek Phillips. I call him Uncle Derek. He is the co-founder and he's the founder and the CEO of the Real Dads Network, and also the co-director of the first documentary on Black fathers called Real Dad, Truth Be Told. Uncle Derek, how you doing?
Good, Ish. How are you? What's up, OG?
Hey, Derek. How you doing?
Good.
And our special guest, that awesome trailer you saw is from this gentleman right here. He is an executive producer, director, man of many talents. I have the one and only Oji Singletary. How you doing, brother? What's going on, man?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it. The first thing I want to know, because the one thing I ask a lot of the people that's been on the show is, people act like the pandemic is over, but we're still living in the pandemic. What have you learned about yourself as a father, husband, about yourself through the pandemic?
I mean, to be honest with you, the pandemic for me has made me like tap back into the important values of family in life, and spending more quality time with my kids, spending more quality time with my queen. It's just made me kind of reevaluate life and what really is important. I'm blessed to be a director and an executive producer, which requires a lot of time and dedication, but also like establishing boundaries and making sure that my biggest priority is my family and not losing focus to that. So, I know that the pandemic's been hard for a lot of folks, and I pray that everybody's staying healthy and safe. For me, it just helped me to kind of take a step outside of work and business and just focus on what really matters to me, and what matters most is my family.
And that's important too. So for the people out there, who is Oji Singletary?
Oji Singletary is a Black man trying to make it in America, brother. Yeah, man. I'm a director. I am a father. I'm a producer. I'm a storyteller. I like telling passionate stories that are compelling about our people. I feel like as a Black director, producer, a lot of the time, so I kind of came up from the bottom, and worked my way up. And a lot of the times on multiple sets, I was the only Black guy on set. And sometimes it was Black stories and Black shows that were being produced, and we didn't have any representation. So when I came up in the business, I felt like it was important to make sure that we were represented properly, and that's what I do creatively more than anything. I try to make sure that Black people are a part of telling Black stories.
And just talk about the importance of storytelling, because often what happens is when we get into storytelling, a lot of people who tell the story doesn't look like us, so it doesn't resonate. And what happens is it tells the false narrative. So, as a storyteller, talk about the importance of storytelling.
Yeah, I think that it's just more important that because like I was saying that there's not a lot of representation of Black folks behind the scenes. So sometimes our stories can be manipulated or just not properly told, and that's because we don't really have real representation. So, like I encourage people to get involved, especially the young minds who are inspired and want to be storytellers and directors and producers and work in the industry. We need you. Like I encourage more people to be involved and to bless the world with your creative ability because it's important. You know, I think that more and more people need to see Black stories being told by Black people the right way.
And I think that's important too. But also talk about being, a child going in that world. You know, your father's well known. Everybody know the great work he's done.
Mhm.
But talk about that again, being in the room, being a child, seeing them in the room. How did that kind of influence you?
Yeah. So I've been blessed. My story is different than others because I actually, my father is a well-established sitcom director that did a lot of the big hits back in the 80s and 90s from Who's the Boss to The Cosby Show, The Living Single, Sanford and Son, Martin. So I was a kid that grew up in the industry. And my father never forced us being a part of the business, but what he did was he gave us access. He gave us access to the world. And it was always a thing. Like my father obviously is a Black man. I'm a Black man. But he was he ran the show. He was the boss, especially during his generation. So to see a Black man running the show in a white man's world, because not only was his shows Black shows, but he did, Married with Children and Who's the Boss. I remember him and Tony Danza. I might be dating myself, but I was a kid. But him and Tony Danza arguing and fighting. They were friends, but they would try to figure out the creative together. But to see him in that light always kind of instilled in me the confidence that Black, white, yellow, brown, it didn't matter. I knew that my lineage, like I knew my father had accomplished it, so I could too. So I'm super grateful for my dad for just through his story and his accomplishments, giving me the confidence to know that it was possible. That was a blessing to be able to grow up in that environment for sure.
And then real fast, talk about, because I know a lot of people, they love Friends. I love Living Single. Talk about you being in the room as a child, because your father was a part of the pilot of Living Singles. So kind of talk about you being a child in the room. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're a kid, so you don't really, you're a kid in the moment, so you don't really understand what's happening all the way. I don't, but I remember situations like, Queen Latifah coming by the house and the whole cast coming by the house and my father, ordering Italian food and me just like being a normal kid running around and meeting everybody and playing hide and seek and just being a young child. Or being on set. Like I was the same age, and I'm still very good friends with Keisha. Keisha's married now, but Rudy, and Bud also. We were all kids together, and they were actors. My father was the director. They shot The Cosby Show in New York. So I would fly out to go visit my father when they would shoot it, and they were my buddies, and we would play hide and seek, behind the set, and Bill Cosby and everybody else was yelling at us to stay out the way, and we were doing our thing. But it was just a fun environment of being around things. But to be honest with you, I didn't really. You're just a kid in the moment, thinking that it was just this is Dad's job, and I get to go to work with Dad. I think it wasn't until like I started to become a man, like more towards like high school and definitely towards college, where I really started to like put it all together about what being in that environment was like, and really kind of like once I started to figure out like I wanted to be in that lane of work and focus on photography and then later the cameras and things, I started to really kind of put back like my record, like what I remembered from being around it and kind of put it all together and say, no, I can really do this. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's awesome. Uncle Derek, you got a question?
Just being in film and your dad is in film, what are some of the film lessons, that he's told you or talked to you about that has really resonated with you?
Yeah, so my father, I love him to death, but he's not really like a, a teacher that says, he's not that type of personality. I don't know. Like, he kind of reminds me like my grandfather was a man of few words, and my father is too. Like, if you try to Google my father and look up information, like, he doesn't do interviews. He doesn't do any social media or anything. He's very much to himself. And a man of few words. Like, he's great at what he does, but what he does do for me is that he's there for me when I ask questions. Like, he's not going to necessarily volunteer any information, but if I have a question about how to play a certain situation, if there's something going on with the network and political and the politics, because there's a lot of that in this business, I have him as a resource to say, Pop, this is how they're handling me. This is a negotiation. What do you think? And he's got tons of experiences that he's dealt with. So he's always been there for me to use for situations like that when I specifically have questions about the game and how to play certain things.
Excellent. Now, was it a challenge for you getting him to be a part of They Call Me Dad?
It wasn't a challenge for me to get him to be a part of it. It was more of a challenge of my mother being comfortable with him sharing his story, because in full transparency, my father had a substance abuse problem when we were growing up as kids, and wasn't present. And that was the thing, though. He was always there financially for us and had success financially. But, there was a stage in life where he wasn't present and wasn't at any of my basketball games or baseball games growing up. And it was really a lot on my mom. And my mom, being a bit more of a private person, wasn't real comfortable with in the beginning with him sharing his story and our truth. But through conversations, I was the director and her son, so I got to persuade her and say, listen, this is the story. We got to be real and share this story. It'll help people, and it's relatable. And not every family is the Cosby Show, and no pun intended. But this is real life, and I think that we shouldn't be afraid of sharing that.
And I think that's a powerful thing too, and that's why I love They Call Me Dad, because when you think of that title, you think of a superhero. Mm-hmm. Like the Superman pulling the suit off, and you see the big S. But instead of that, you see They Call Me Dad.
Yeah.
But what I enjoy is the fathers that's been on the show, the celebrities being vulnerable, because I know that's the one thing in the Black community, especially when the Black men, it's hard for us to be vulnerable. Share, our weaknesses, because we're all willing to show our strength, but we're not willing to show that, I'm weak at this point. And I love that about that. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was my angle. I think that everybody is human, and we all live life, and we make decisions, and sometimes they're not always the right decisions. And that's just a part of life. So, sometimes when you think about celebrities, we only have a certain perception of them based off of what is put out in the world. And with this, They Call Me Dad featuring celebrities, I think that for me, the celebrities that we did feature, I wanted to make sure that they were real people, and I wanted to humanize them as much as possible. And if the celebrities weren't comfortable going there and showing vulnerability, then they weren't celebrities that I felt were good for this project. I think that I'm super proud of everybody that was selected for their honesty, for their truth, and their willingness to really share their truth. Because, like I said, we're all human, and we all make mistakes. And I think that relatability factor as a storyteller, celebrity or not, is super important. So yeah, shout out to all the dads that participated. And I'm super proud that they entrusted in me the ability to tell their story and share their truth of fatherhood.
And out of the people that shared the stories, which one kind of resonate with you the most, that has some kind of commonality with you as being a father? Yeah,
I think there's a little piece of there's situations that I learned from all of them, but I think what resonated with me the most, believe it or not, was Tristan McWiles on the last one. I just think that I just really respected his truth. For one, he's a young man in a young relationship and just became a father. I think his daughter wasn't even a year yet when we shot They Call Me Dad with him. So it's a new chapter for him. He's not a seasoned dad where some of the other fathers were had older children. Some had grown children, some had teenage children. But Tristan, it was like he was just entering this fatherhood stage, and seeing him and his beautiful wife together was very impressive. I thought he was very well spoken, and I just admired him being so young and well spoken and taking ownership of his vulnerabilities. Like he talked about some of his demons and the importance of being able to talk to someone and not feeling, especially as Black men, sometimes we take on the burden of the world all by ourselves. And I think he was, really an advocate for therapy and getting things out and expressing yourself. And I just really, I was proud of him, and I was proud that he was comfortable enough to take people on that journey. His truth.
That's so true. Uncle Derek, you got a question?
Yeah, just like, just as you said, OG, just when I'm watching it, it's just so compelling, all the stories. And
Yeah.
it's like, and it's not about even them being celebrities.
Yeah.
It's just human stories, so, and it's like, I think you do a great job of just keeping people engaged throughout the whole show. So that's what I really got from it. And it's like, and the stories are just phenomenal. So when people are watching it, what do you want people, when they say They Call Me Dad, what do you want them to leave with? What is that, thought or that image or, that feeling that you want them to have after watching They Call Me Dad?
Yeah, I mean, I think I want them to understand that celebrity or not, like we're all human beings, and we're all trying our best and doing our best. And I just think that Black fathers in general have gotten a bad rap, So when they reached out to me about this project, I forget how many years ago it was now. I just felt like it was important because I don't think that Black fathers get the credit that they deserve. And I think that I just want Black fathers to be celebrated like every other father for putting in the work and doing what you have to do and dedicating your life to your children, because we're no different than anybody. Like, we love our children, we raise our children, and we do our best to just live positive lives and leave a positive imprint on the world. So overall, I think that that's the goal, is just to change the narrative of Black fatherhood in general.
And you are doing that, brother, and I appreciate all the great work you're doing. One of the things that stuck out to me on the show was Kirk Franklin, and he was talking about passing the baton of, as a father, fearing of dropping it, or when you pass it to your child, they have it and they drop it. So talk about that element of the passing the baton, because I know I'm not a dad, but you guys are dads. Like, talk about that fear of passing the baton.
Yeah, well, my daughter is 10 and my son is 6, so there's no passing the baton yet. Right? We got a little time. But with Kirk in particular, though, was that we were able to shoot with him during a time in his life where his son was actually leaving home for the first time and going to college to be a young man on his own, and that's a scary thing. As a father, and I know, Derek, your girls are, how old are your girls?
Yeah, my oldest is 26 and my youngest is 21. She's a senior at Hampton.
So you can relate to this, I'm sure. My kids they're still at home. They haven't left the nest yet. But I think what Kirk was expressing was his baby boy leaving, and did he instill the right values in him to be a citizen outside of his world and a good citizen and just getting his apartment and all those type of emotions and feelings. And, he was able to really be honest about what that feeling was like as he was experiencing it. And again, man, I'm super proudful that Kurt was willing to share his truth about that. But that was a real thing, a real emotion he was dealing with at that time that we were able to tap into.
And I think one of the critical things that he was, when he had the two gentlemen around him, that he learned from. Because that's the one thing about, being a father, is the people that you surround yourself, because you get certain information to help you about being a better father. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit? And then also, can you touch on the relationship with your dad? I know he didn't kind of want you to get into this world, but do you feel like you're carrying the baton, his legacy? by what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, just talking about my father, with him not really wanting me to be in the entertainment business per se. Yeah, I think that was a real thing, because there were certain things and pressures that came along with it that made life very difficult for him. But I was able to kind of learn from his mistakes at the same time. With him being an open book in our household, and watching him and my mom and the struggles that they went through in the business. So the way I try to navigate through the business is a little bit different because of some of the decisions that he made, and I tried to learn from those. So in general, like I know I'm kind of talking a little more general, but the pressures of the business, I'm not really embracing those. Like I'm not. If it's not a good fit, then I'm walking away. Like I'm not putting myself in those situations where I think my father, because of monetary reasons, put himself in some tough situations. And look, he worked extremely hard for our family, and we never had a want in the world. Like we were very blessed from a financial perspective. But I think dealing with what came with that wasn't the best thing for him emotionally. And although I want to make good money, and I want to travel the world and take care of my family, all money ain't good money, from my POV and watching him. So I think my happiness and the quality of life is more important than being financially well off all the time. So that's the big thing for me. I still want to make some money and be a success, but not at the expense of me losing my soul in the process. And what was your other question?
The other question is surrounding yourself with great fathers to kind of, help you in your maturation of being a great father.
Yeah, well, look, that's the thing I was speaking on about. We featured 12, I forget the number, but at least 10 to 12 fathers, if not more, because of the spotlight dads, of the everyday dads that we featured as well. So and honestly, like I've learned something from each of these dads, from Master P, being a business-focused entrepreneur and teaching certain things to his kids at a young age, where the conversations that I have with my kids now are about stocks and business investing, and certain things that he's been doing with his kids since he was young, or just Marvin Sapp, just with his wife dying, and him being the main focal point of his family. His kids were young when their mom passed, and he just really just dedicated his life and had to be mom and dad, and just the sacrifices that he made as a man to just really make sure that his kids were all right. Like I've surrounded myself around these amazing dads, this circle that has just, I've been able to learn so much knowledge and gain so many more experiences through some of their stories. That's been amazing, and I hope that people that have watched the series have had that opportunity as well.
Definitely, it has. And then also going back to passing the baton, I feel like each episode is passing the baton. So what do we have next coming? Is there a season 4 coming? What's next?
I hope so. The thing is, though, is that it's still a business, right? So it really comes down to the numbers and how many people watched and recorded the show. So, that's the thing. As much as I would like to say that it is picked up, it's not a guarantee until the network does their evaluation and sees what type of ratings it did, and if it did well, then they'll reach out and they'll order more episodes. If the numbers weren't well, then it won't get picked up. So it's still a business, and it comes down to that. But it's done well enough for us to be where we are, and we've shot multiple episodes. So I'd like to say that I should get a call soon, and they say, "Hey, Oji, we want to do more of these." So hopefully, your viewers will watch, or TiVo, or spread the word, so that we do make sure that positive programming does get picked up, and we get more opportunities like this to create shows that actually help people and tell positive narratives.
And at the end of the day, I don't want to hear anyone talking about there's no positive images of Black fathers. They exist. At the end of the day, we just have to support it.
Yeah,
I'm doing my part.
Thank you. I mean, platforms like this help too, man. So with us spreading the word and talking about the show. So thank you. This is helping us make sure that people are aware and watching and supporting.
Definitely.
And it's a phenomenal show. And it's like watching it, just when I'm watching it, it's like I had my daughter watching it and it's like, oh, what happened? It's over because it goes so quick, because it's so engaging and compelling and it moves and you're tied into all the stories. So I'm like, wow. So we definitely got to make sure we continue to support the work you're doing. You're doing phenomenal work. We're talking 3 seasons. We're talking 3 seasons of doing this work.
Thank you.
So you've been really, in terms of the Black fatherhood, perspective, you've been that consistent person there in terms of media, in terms of show.
Thank you. And I appreciate it.
Keep it real. You've been there. You've done it for 3 years.
No, thank you. Thank you, man.
But just keep up the great work, man. Anything that we can do to support the work you're doing. We all know that it's coming from the heart, and it's all about just giving back and just showing the stories that we don't get an opportunity to see. So, and thank you for just doing what you're doing.
I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
No, thank you. And before we end it, have you watched any of the episodes with your kids?
Yeah.
That moment before we end.
Yeah, I have, but more from the perspective of them wanting, they're still young and them wanting to see themselves on television, especially with the piece where we did with my father. And then, we had cutaways of my son and my daughter. So they were super excited to see themselves on TV more than anything, to be honest with you.
Or do they think about, do you want them to go and film, or do they talk about possibly being in film themselves?
And my son is too young to even think about it yet. He's 6, but I see it in him a little bit. Like I remember being a kid his age and me being into photography, and I've been kind of planting that seed, and talking to him, bringing, like my father did to me, bringing him on set, letting him see things behind the scenes, FaceTiming when I'm doing different things that I think are cool, just so that they're exposed and they see the environment. But my daughter, believe it or not, she loves singing, so I've been, if it, I'm not pushing her in any direction, but if it's something that she really loves and is passionate, then I'm supporting it and trying to help her as much as I can. That's what she really enjoys right now, is singing.
That's amazing, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Before we end this show, tell people where they can find you, and then also tell people where they can watch episode 3, 2, and episode 1.
Yeah, please check it out. It's They Call Me Dad on Oprah Winfrey's network. You could also go to own.com and check out any of the episodes online. And me, I'm Oji Singletary. I'm on Instagram. You can find me under OJIS1. I'm also on Facebook as Oji Singletary, and LinkedIn as Oji Singletary. Reach out. Let's build.
Awesome. Anything you want to say, Uncle Derek, before we go?
OG, just keep doing what you're doing, man. We love what you're doing. Any support that we can provide you, just let us know what we need. Just tell us what we need to do, and it's done. Thank you, guys, man. I'm grateful, man. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you, brother. Oh, you're not gonna tell people where people can find Real Dads Network?
Oh, you can go to Instagram. We're on Real Dads Network at Instagram, also Facebook, and you can also our website, realdadsnetwork.org.
And that's where you can find the Real Dads Network. That's also where you can find OG. And we're out. Thank you. Peace.
Peace.